What's going on, guys? And welcome back to Vinny's Corner. Happy Super Bowl week. Oh, whoa, what we got here? Hold on a second. Let me see if I can. I think I got somebody else looking to join. I think my boy Boston's going to hop on today because we got some NHL and some other stuff going on. It looks, I'm not sure why it's not allowing it at the moment. It says devices not, they will need to connect. Oh, hold on. Let me send him a text and tell him to connect his mic.
Yeah.
I can add them. Boom, boom, boom. Sorry, guys. You know the deal. Vince is always fucking around when the show starts. But thank you guys for tuning in. We do got a lot to talk about. The NBA trade deadline. Connect your mic so I can add you. Boom. Okay. I just sent him a text. Hopefully he'll get that in a second. Or he'll realize what's going on. Boom. Okay. It already went through. So guys, there's a lot going on. Obviously, I am a boxing fan, so I will talk a little bit about the match from last weekend. Light heavyweight interim title belt holders, WBO, WBC. David Morrell was stepping up to the light heavyweight. David Benavidez. Benavidez is hugely popular. A lot of people say that Canelo has been ducking him for a minute. Everyone's got their own opinion on it. I'm not going to voice mine, but I'm a Canelo guy. And I think that David Benavidez should stay put in the light heavyweight division because that's what he always was anyway. Grant Cove, how are you on here? I got Cove on here 20 times now. All right, so I'm going to remove the other one.
Yeah.
There we go. What's going on? But yeah, so if you were able to tune into the fight card the other night, it was a great fight. Cove, why are you on here so many times? You just show up in boxes at the bottom. But in any case, guys, it was an awesome fight. The fight did go 12 rounds. David Benavidez won. Sorry, this guy is okay. 1 sec. Okay, that's why his mic is all right. He got a call, so he's going to jump on in a minute. So David Benavidez won. He controlled most of the fight. He won probably 9 rounds out of 12, I would say. He really killed it in the fight. He looks great at that weight class. And the winner of this fight is guaranteed as the mandatory for the big fight, or for the winner of the big fight coming up February 2nd, the undisputed rematch of Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev. So it's a pretty big moment. Just sharing this on X real quick. Where are we? Boom, there we go. Okay, send direct message. Let's get this out to everybody. Boom, boom, boom. Send it. Should we send it to? No, we're not going to send it to them, guys. But we will send it to these group and this group. Okay, send to groups. Okay. We are live. Sorry, guys. I just wanted to make sure this was shared across X, so everybody that did want to tune in could tune in. As always, we are glad to have folks here. So if you do have a chance to tune in, so we were going to do a space and a podcast this week. A little too hectic, so maybe next time. So as I was saying, it was a great fight. Both David Benavidez and David Morrell showed exactly why they should be light heavyweights. So I think it was the right decision for both these guys to move up. The fight was fantastic. On that, we got to see probably not, I wouldn't say the most popular Mexican fighter, but one of the more popular Mexican fighters, Pitbull Cruz. He fought Angel Fierro. And it was like Mexican versus Mexican for the Warrior Azteca belt. It was an awesome fight. Those guys killed each other for 12 rounds also. And last but not least, if you were able to tune in on Sunday, the GOAT, the greatest woman of all time in boxing, Clarissa Shields, did go for the first unified heavyweight title belt or title belt holders in women's boxing. She damaged this chick Perkins pretty bad. And Perkins is big. Perkins is, for a woman, she's like 6 foot tall, 175 pounds, 180 pounds. She's a pretty big girl. But Clarissa was just too much for her. The right just kept coming. And she finished her with an overhand right. I'll reshare it a little bit later in case anybody missed it. But it was brutal. The fact that a female is knocking another female out this savage was pretty incredible. So it was awesome. Now, there are a bunch of fights coming up in the next few weeks. I'm not going to jump into all that stuff today. as we do want to focus on some other stuff because we have the UFC fight coming up this weekend. We have the rematch between Sean Strickland and Dricus Du Plessis. That's going to be a pretty good one. I'm excited about it. Dricus is the current champ, and so we'll see. And you know what else? I don't know if any of you guys saw the way that my man Sean Strickland looks, but he really he looks like me, but actually white. You know, I got a little bit of tan. I'm pretty white too, though. But he shaved his head. He's got the mustache going. Oh my God, it's sick. I was dying when I saw this guy. So it's a pretty good fight card, though, overall. It's one of these cards that's just got a lot of bangers on it. Should be a really good one. If you're tuning in this weekend, Tatiana Suarez, who is a really bad chick, she's fighting belt holder Zhang Weili. That's going to be a pretty awesome fight. So that's like I wouldn't call it the co-main event. It's the fight before the main event, though. That's going to be a really awesome one. And there's just a lot of really good fights on here. So definitely check it out. Now, really what we want to jump into this week, obviously, it is NFL week. So we can always come back to the fight stuff a little bit later. But we did want to talk a little bit about the NFL. Also, the NBA trade deadline. There have been some pretty hectic moves. I don't even know how I want to start this out today. You know what? Let's talk about NBA. Let's talk about the NBA first. We'll get to the Super Bowl stuff. Did you guys just see what happened? Jimmy Butler is going to the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, he signed the extension. I think that was the biggest thing about it, was that he wanted money.
Yeah, 2-year extension, like 126 mil, give or take. Somebody is texting. I'm getting too many text messages for no reason. I don't normally ever get text messages.
Yeah.
But at least not at this time of night, I don't. You know, I'm a pretty unpopular guy. But this has been a pretty crazy deadline. So I don't know. A lot of people thought the Golden State Warriors were going to, and they actually were talking about trying to make something work with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant actually came out and said he had no interest in rehashing that.
Yeah.
I love Kevin Durant, but it seems like he wants to win a championship his way. And I don't think he's going to do that, unfortunately. It's not working out in Phoenix. It didn't work out in Brooklyn.
Yeah. He doesn't want to be handed a championship, though. I think that from last time, he doesn't want to be handed a championship.
Well, so that's the thing, right? That was considered a super team. It was him, Thompson, Green, Curry. But, I don't know why he has a chip on his shoulder about this still. He was there's my guy. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, guys? How are you?
Okay.
Doing well. So listen, we're just talking about the NBA trade deadline at the moment. We're going to jump to, actually Cove does questions. So he'll have some good questions. So Cove, Boston, Boston Cashews from X, another hockey guy. So you guys will be able to really kill that part of life. So what's going on, Boston? How are you?
I'm tired, man. It's been a long day, but this happens when you're a working father of 110 kids. So,
dude, I'm not gonna put your business out there, but he's got a clan. He's got a whole clan.
Yeah.
I have a small unit. He's got a clan. A little bit different. So it's awesome, though. You do a great job, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. You too. Always love seeing pictures of the baby girl.
Dude, we're almost at a year already. It's pretty hectic. It's coming fast. We were hoping to be in Texas already, but things, life happens, basically. You know what it is. So we'll get there,
What part of Texas?
Well, so the original game plan was Dallas. We're not doing Dallas, but depending on the best opportunity. So if the right opportunity is Houston, then we're going to, but it's, it's going to be the suburbs of one of the big cities. So most likely the suburbs of Houston or Dallas, possibly even Austin. That's, what the game plan is at this point. Right now, the focus is still Dallas, but we'll see what happens.
Okay.
So you're an NBA guy too. Sorry, say that again?
I was enjoy all the heat, man. I'll stay here in Colorado. I get a little bit of everything.
I mean, I already live in Southern Nevada. It's not going to get hotter, you know? It was like 75 and sunny today.
It was 70, I think, 2 days ago here in Denver, and I didn't know where I was for a minute.
Dude, I've been going outside in like booty shorts and a t-shirt for the last couple of days. You know, like the little gym shorts, like chilling, loving it. I did push-ups yesterday.
You got the thighs for that. Me, I'm still working on my leg day.
You know, here's the thing: like the only part of my body that doesn't put fat on is the legs. So like right now, I'll tell you, last summer I was 165. I'm 185 right now. Some of it's muscle, definitely not all of it. Definitely not all of it. So
it's all in that head of yours. That's where it's at.
I mean, this is a bowling ball, so you know, I wouldn't say that that's not right. You know,
and Boston's talking about 70. It's about 10 degrees here.
Okay, so just to preface, Cove lives in like the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's like
so
he's on an island off the coast of Canada.
Oh, no, it's probably colder than that. I'm minus 26 right now in Celsius.
That's balmy.
Yeah, that's like no way. No, thank you. No, I'm cool on that.
Yeah,
you probably
minus 26.
You don't own too many booty shorts, I imagine.
Oh, I could, but I'd have you know, frosty chaps.
So you were talking NBA trade deadline?
Yeah. So we were talking a little bit about this Jimmy Butler. I'm sure you saw that just happened. Jimmy Butler to the Golden State Warriors. What are your thoughts on that one?
Well, look, I'm catching up on it, so I forgive me if I miss any of the details. But what I will say right off the bat is, for one guy, the Warriors gave up a lot. Yeah, and I don't know if this was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I think this would be a great thing. Because I think Jimmy Butler I think he's great. I tend to lean he's a little overrated, but he does a lot of good stuff. Mid-range, he does a lot of good stuff. But
this is the thing about him. I think a part of this is kind of like this is how much Golden State loves that original core, you know, Green, Curry. They want to give them one more shot at winning a chip now. You know, so Jimmy Butler is something it's a very small number, something like maybe 10 or 12 players in like NBA period. Actually, their stats improve going into the postseason. Jimmy is one of those guys. So I understand what the thought process is there, but I mean, potentially a top 10 pick this year. Like, I was like, they know he's 35, right? Like,
that was my thought too. I'm like, he's not young. I mean, the year they went to the finals, lost to my Nuggets. I thought this guy was phenomenal. What were they, the 8 seed going into the finals? Shouldn't probably have been there. They didn't do that well in the regular season. They turned it on, and
absolutely.
Their path there. I mean, argue easy, not easy, because of injuries to some stars on other teams and whatnot. They still played really well.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
They got outmatched. I mean, everybody got outmatched to the Nuggets that year. But if this was that year, Jimmy, I would have said this is perfectly fine. I think it's a little much at 35, but I'm not the GM either.
Well, so
yeah, but when you have a disgruntled employee like Jimmy Butler, you gotta get rid of him for something.
Well, you know, and so that's the thing that I was surprised about with how much that team wanted to get rid of him at this point. Like, I feel like they could have dealt a little lower and got him, you know? And he didn't get the 5-year extension he wanted, but $126 million or whatever it is for 2 years is not a bad deal. You know, I mean, it's pretty good.
Give me 10% of that, I'll be happy.
I mean, you know, I think any of us would, right?
Yeah.
I have to start me OnlyFans and then booty shorts, and now maybe I'll make that.
Yeah.
Now, you just brought up your Nuggets.
Yeah.
And so actually, like, I feel like they're like the biggest sleeper in the West. Obviously they have Jokic, Murray's Murray, but for me, I think it's been pretty awesome to see the way that Russell Westbrook has fit into that team, and he's been a killer. Like, he's been has that been good for you? Like, are fans in Denver like stoked about this guy?
Oh yeah, man. Everybody, you see it even live TV. Like, fans love him, and I think he does one thing extremely well other guys just don't do, and that's play hard every moment they're on the floor.
Yeah.
Like, he's not the most accurate guy anymore. He's still putting up triple doubles, obviously, but even at his age, he's diving for balls. He's going after every 50-50 ball. He's doing the things that a lot of these superstars will never do, right? They're not diving around. They're not trying to hurt themselves to get a single loose ball in a regular season game, but he does that all night.
It's honestly like, so he's got the fitness levels, as an older guy of like a LeBron James, like the way he takes care of himself. But then he runs around like LeBron will go hard, but Russell plays like he's 20, like he's literally going to dive on the floor and get that jump ball. He's a different animal right now. It's great to watch.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. It's really energetic. It kind of reminds me of the Nuggets back in like 08, 09, running up and down the floor, just fast break all day long. That's the energy that he brings. And obviously, somehow in way, Jokic finds a way to complement everybody around him. He plays with Russell's speed like they've been doing it for years. I mean, they were the best duo in the league, I think, for at least a couple weeks span over the last few months. So
they've been awesome together. And it's like, I think this is what like a lot of people discount. A lot of that team has championship experience already, and then you add this like Russell like revitalized the whole locker room, so you just get this. It's different. Like, I see them as like the biggest threat in the West when it comes to playoff time. Like I don't know. A lot of these other teams are younger teams. I don't know that they're going to be able to stop, Jokic with Murray and Westbrook.
Yeah, I think Murray's kind of been the question mark this season, maybe more so than any other part of the Nuggets. He's been hit and miss. He hasn't been the same, but he's another guy whose stats go up when he gets to playoffs.
Exactly.
And, maybe I don't compare him to Jimmy Butler, who has this extra set of energy when he gets there too, but his stats do go up. I mean, his shooting percentage rises. I don't have it right in front of me, but everything about Murray's game goes up when it matters the most. And, I mean, it's going to be hard to discount them. Plus, he's growing this giant fro. You can't hate on the giant fro.
Yeah. I think that, like, you raised the biggest point. He gets better when it counts. He hasn't been perfect this season, but where he's kind of had the drop off, I feel like Russell has been the perfect complement to kind of bring them up, so it hasn't affected the team adversely. And he's going to show up when it counts. Like, they get, these two get them to the playoffs and Murray's going to turn back on, it's almost a guarantee for that team. So they're dangerous. I'm a Knicks fan. I don't know what to think about our team yet. I love the Knicks. I think we're doing really great. I think the Cavs. Okay, so Keegan, I just want to tell you the Cavs are not the biggest threat in the he said the Eastern Cancun Conference. Yes, they are. I'll agree to that. I don't know what's going on. So Keegan's actually a Cavs fan. I think you can see those comments over there on the side. The Cavs looked unstoppable in the first half of the year. Approaching the All-Star break, they've looked mid at best. They're just dropping like games they should not be losing. And I don't know, maybe they need to cool off a little bit now so they can get it back right for the end of the year. So we'll see. The East, I do think the top three is going to be the Knicks, the Cavs, and the Celtics. We'll see what happens at that point, but Garland just hit an insane walk-off three. I love that. So the biggest trade maybe in sports history, or that a lot of us, 30s, early 40s can remember. It just happened, right? Luka Doncic, who most people thought was like he was an untouchable, everyone assumed, right? Like, why would you move off a 5-time All-Pro when he's only been in the league for 5 years, right? But he just got moved for AD, which there are two different camps on this. Some people are like, oh my God, AD makes them a bigger competitor right now. They can make a trip. People think the Mavs can play for a title this season. A lot of people, and then you got the guys who are just like, well, but that was Luka, right? So here, like the way that I look at this whole situation, I think that, and I don't know how AD and KD or Kyrie Irving are going to play together. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic to see. But AD is a champion, right? And his defense is stellar. So I think it definitely adds certain things to them. But like, I feel like a lot of the reason that team even made it to where they made it last year was because Luka was dropping 50 paces all over the place, right? So I don't know that I think the Mavs won that. I feel like if this goes the right way, right, you get LeBron teaching his physical side of things and how you keep your body right to Luka, because Luka's kind of known to kind of be a little sloppier. He's like, ready when he's ready, but he's constantly injured. He's got that calf issue all the time. The Lakers could become, finals, or like a conference championship level team for the next 10 years easily. So, what did you think about that trade? Cove?
I mean, even like Cuban was like, what the fuck? Like, Mark Cuban was like, I didn't even know this shit was happening. I own the goddamn team. So,
so a lot of people were surprised by that trade. By the way, Cuban sold his part of the team in 2023.
did he? Okay.
Yeah. So, but he actually sold it to like an Israeli doctor, Israeli American doctor.
He's a minority owner right now, so he doesn't have any decision making though.
Yeah. He's now.
Thing, though, like, were they trying to
makes money.
Were they trying to avoid the max deal because he's ineligible for the max now because of the trade?
Well, so this is the big thing to me, right? Like, I put a post about this up today. Is this going to be like the villain origin story for Luka going to the Lakers? Like, he's going to get it together now. He just lost. Okay, so he lost like over $100 million with this deal, and he gained California taxes when he was in Texas with no state taxes.
Yeah.
Like, he just lost like almost a third of his worth over the next 5 to 10 years. That's like, that's a real kick in the butt.
Yeah.
So
he just bought a house in Dallas too. I just saw a story. He bought a house.
15 mil per house, and then he goes gonna move.
Wow.
So what do you think about this, Boston? Is it like, did both teams win? Like, will the Mavs be a competitor this year like they think?
Well, I do think the Mavs side of the trade is a little underrated. I think AD is a great defender. He still scores the ball. He's gonna rebound. He does a lot of really good things. I don't know that I don't know. I don't want to say they needed AD. They obviously felt like they did. I don't know if it was worth losing Luka, but Luka's such a dynamic superstar, very young in the league, like you said, 5 years. I just was reminded in this trade, he's only 25.
Dude,
and
like,
I thought he was untouchable because you still had 10 years at least, right? If you're thinking longevity with this superstar. And so first, I'll finish my thought. I think the Mavs side of the trade was underrated. I do think AD is going to provide them something. I think he's going to work extremely well with Kyrie. I still see them as a contender in the West. And in fact, they might even still finish top 4 in the West and still have a chance to go deep this year. But AD's 31, 32, somewhere in there.
Yep.
And I think from the Lakers standpoint, yeah, absolutely. I trade AD all day for Luka Doncic. I have my superstar of the future. He's now a Laker, probably for life, right? But I don't know that this necessarily makes the Lakers immediately contenders as opposed to having AD, who was still having a great year. They both have injuries, so you're both probably you're missing both of them for half the season every year for foot injuries, calf injuries. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I do feel like it's a lot more evenly matched trade than most people got the shock value out of. I think shock was the biggest deal with this one.
Yeah, see, I think that, and I agree. What I think is that this more immediately impacts. So, right, okay, the reason, and let's just call it what it is. The Mavs got to the finals last year, and they had no defensive answers for the Celtics, right? So now they feel like doing something like this, if this team can still compete at that level, right? Now they've got an answer for whoever they play in the East defensively. And they're right. I do think it makes them more competitive from that regard immediately. And then here's the thing that I was saying before is if Luka, you got it right. So right now, right, Luka and LeBron are going to do the same thing on the court, essentially, right? So you got to figure out how that's going to work in the immediate future. But really, if I'm Rob Pelinka, I'm like, yo, LeBron, like, I need you to take this guy under your wing. I need you to, like, show this guy what fitness really means, like that it's a lifestyle, right? It's not like in the off season, we become 275 pounds and then we shape up for the game, for the season. Like, LeBron is such a specimen. If he can kind of like impart that wisdom on him, and if it takes the right way to where you get, a Luka who's healthy for full seasons, this becomes, like you said, this becomes the Lakers superstar and like the move for the next 10 years. It makes them competitive. So,
yeah, I think it comes down to health. If you get Luka or AD, either way, for 50+% of each season and the postseason, that team wins the deal. Now, there's a chance both of them could easily walk away with somebody who's around for all of that time, but I do think whoever gets the most health of both of their superstars is probably the winner of that trade.
So, and then the last trade that I wanted to bring up before we kind of jump to NHL and NFL, obviously it's Super Bowl week, as you can see by my bogus background here. I thought this was actually a really awesome one, a smart play by the Spurs, going out and getting De'Aaron Fox to come in and be that number 2 guy to Wembanyama. Is that how we pronounce it, right? I feel like that team, having that guy on your team, he's going to become the best player in the league. I feel like he's already one of the most complete players I've ever seen play the game, and having that number 2 guy that they can run a pick and roll with all the time, and like I feel like this move was elite for them, and more people are going to want to pull up to that team for sure. So I'm pretty excited about that one. I felt, for me, that was like my favorite trade that I've seen so far. Obviously, we'll see some more stuff between now and tomorrow afternoon, but that was like the big one for me. What were your thoughts on that, Boston?
First of all, I like De'Aaron Fox a lot. I think he's going to pair extremely well with Wemby. I had the pleasure of being at Nuggets Spurs this year, and what an electric game. It came down to the wire, and then they played back-to-back. The next night they were in San Antonio playing them, and it's electric, and I think he's only going to elevate them. They split the back-to-back, the home-and-home series 1-1, and it went down to the wire both games. So I'm excited to see what De'Aaron Fox brings for stabilization at the front, and how that 1-2 pair goes back and forth. Right, I think he's only going to elevate his game. They immediately become stronger contenders. I don't know if this is the year for that, but they're skyrocketing. Wemby took over last year. He's the real deal.
Yeah, oh, dude, he's unbelievable, and he's younger than Luca. He's like 21 or something like that.
Oh,
So
yeah. Incredible player. I'm excited to see where they go. I like this trade. I don't think the Kings lose in this either. Obviously, De'Aaron Fox is hard to replace, but I don't think they lose on the other side either.
dude, so check this out, right? De'Aaron Fox was 11 for 22 tonight from his field goals. He had 13 assists tonight. Like he's in and ready. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, but we're talking about Wemby though. You get a chance to play with Wemby.
Dude, and so that's the thing. I feel like over the next 2 years, we're going to see a couple more guys go to that team, and that team's just going to become bananas, And it's good, and it might not be like they're not going to look for like necessarily superstars, just like a couple more solid guys to like shore up that starting five, and they're going to become super dangerous all the time. That's the kind of team I'm going to. In the next couple of years, I expect to start seeing them show up in the conference finals a lot.
I mean, I hate using the word generational talent, but Wemby is a generational talent.
Yeah, one of a kind. I mean,
dude,
size, speed, athleticism. I mean, he plays like he's 6'1".
Yeah,
he plays like he's smaller. And I think he's played in almost every game since he's come to the Spurs. He's not like the big complaint about big guys like that, right? Is AD, right? If AD scores 30 and has, 12 rebounds or 15 rebounds in one night, the next night he's got an ab injury. You know what I mean? Like this kid shows up every night to play and just puts it out there. It's sick. And his outside shot, like his three is ridiculous. He's a different animal.
Yeah.
All right, so listen, it's about 7:00. So what I'd like to do is open it up for Cove's questions. Cove, let's start with the NHL, and then we'll finish off with the NFL and the Super Bowl.
Yes, give me 2 seconds. Good thing
I was going to send you the questions, Boston, and I was like, you know what? Let him just catch. This will be a surprise, and like he's a real hockey guy, so it'll be good.
Yeah.
I don't know about real hockey.
We're not going to be focusing on the NHL per se. Like these are all questions for the Four Nation Cup. So
you know about the Four Nation Cup, obviously.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. I mean, so what are your thoughts on? And I'm not gonna be biased with Team Canada, but what are your thoughts on the roster changes for Team Canada in the face-off? Do you see any notable omissions or surprises?
Well, I think I'm trying to remember his name from Carolina off the top of my head. Canada's missing somebody from Carolina, and I'm drawing a blank right off the top of my head in his name.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's really anything that surprised me. I mean, look, first of all, Canada has a ton of great players that played throughout the NHL. Some are lesser known. What I will say is this. I think their roster is stacked. There's some injuries that are heading into the Four Nations Cup for everybody. I think with the exception of maybe the United States, there's some big names that are starting to show up injured.
Was it Seth Jarvis?
Yes, Seth Jarvis. Yes. Excuse me, with Natchez and Rantanen switching, I start losing names of who's who. But with Jarvis not being there, I think that's a big deal. And he said he's ready to go. So I think if they give him a call, if more people tend to drop out over the next couple of days, he's a guy you got to call up. I think he's going to make a big difference. However, that said, existing roster, the biggest hole for Canada right now, in my opinion, is probably going to be goaltending.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, they got Jordan Bennington, Aiden Hill, and Sam Montembeault.
Yeah, Montembeault is a very young guy. from the Canadians. I think he's going to be very good in this league. He's proven already this year to play some strong hockey. Canadians are probably playing a little better than even they anticipated. Obviously, you always believe in yourself, but you got to be realistic too. You haven't been good for a long time. Mutombo is going to be good, but I think he's probably going to be their backup. It's going to be Aiden Hill's net, in my opinion. I think he stays probably as their strong guy. Plays in Vegas, won a cup recently. He's a strong guy. Bennington, as an Avalanche fan, can't stand the guy. He's had his moments. If he keeps his cool in net, he can be a strong goaltender. I still think you have 2 out of the 3 goaltenders are not that great. Bennington's had his time. Mutombo's young. Aiden Hill's net. That's their weak spot.
So how do you think the absence of Olympic veterans on other participating teams like USA, Finland, and Sweden will impact competitiveness in this tournament?
I don't think you're going to have a big impact on competitiveness. Look, these rosters are all stacked.
Yeah, I'm looking at them now.
Top to bottom. I mean, there's hardly any holes. Like I said, if I was being nitpicky with Canada's hole in goaltending, I still think you got NHL caliber players everywhere, or NHL players everywhere. Competitiveness is not going to be a big deal. I think where you kind of start to fail with competitiveness is the fact that there's only 4 nations here. I think that if they want to continue with success in this, just futures dated down the road, you got to find a way to add more countries. You got to find a way. The issue that you have with finding more countries is you get less representation from the NHL level players, and you're going to get AHL players. You're going to get other leagues, European leagues, Russian leagues. You're going to have to probably eventually get Russia included in this. So many high caliber players. Ovechkin can't play in this. Malkin can't play in this. I think that's where you really lose some competitiveness. But we'll see. First time this is happening, it's going to be difficult to say one way or the other how competitiveness is impacted when the rosters are that good.
That's so exactly what you just said. And like, obviously tensions between the West and the East countries right now. So Russia's not involved. And then who are we saying might be the like, if they expanded, we were saying Russia. And then who do you think would be the 6th team? Slovakia?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
that's a lot of really good players.
Yeah, I mean, even if you go back to Latvia this year or this last year, late in the year, beat a Canadian team, World Juniors. You got a lot of players in that Latvian team that are starting to come up. They don't get a lot of recognition because they don't play NHL. They don't play in a lot of AHL, but they're starting. Their youth is really starting to come up. You get a lot of these European countries that are starting to play a lot of hockey. Good. Norway, obviously Finland's in there. I mean, England, France. I mean, you have a lot of these countries that have representation. They just don't have a lot of them, and that's why you only have 4.
I don't think they have enough. But
exactly.
if they open it up like the World Baseball Classic, as long as you have a heritage in that country, you should be able to play.
Yeah,
and that would open
I
up.
Definitely agree. Yeah, I get what they were doing with NHL players in 4 nations and trying to get a good representation and have them represent their countries. Definitely understand it. I think you could easily grow the game, though, by opening it up to the youth players that are represented in all these other countries that aren't going to be able to show up here. And Russia, Belarus, they're prevented from playing right now in international play with NHL players. I do think at some point, and you'll probably see it in the 4 years that we have right now with Trump in office, that'll probably change. You're going to get Russia back into these things. Not to make this anything political, but it makes a big difference when that is one of the main reasons why these countries are left out. A lot of things can happen and change them.
Team Switzerland has been surprising over the last few years. We've got a lot of great talent from Swiss.
Swiss have good goaltenders. I mean, they have a lot of good youth, like I said, coming up in these countries that just they don't have NHL players, so that's why they're not involved.
Oh, wow. So what are your predictions of the finals in this 4-Nation Cup?
I got United States and Finland will probably be there too. Finland's got a strong core. They have a little bit of everything that's great for them. I think the United States has the best goaltenders in the world being represented here. You have Jake Ottinger, who is, I hate to say it, as an Avalanche fan, he is a great goalie
He's
here
really
in the
good.
West. But you have the number one goaltender in the world in Connor Hellebuck. Outside of Vasilevsky, who again can't play because of his country of representation, he's the number one guy. He is unreal this year. And as another Central Division opponent of mine, I hate to say that, he's number one. And I think that's going to be the big thing. They have great forwards. I mean, you've got Captain Matthews. Those who don't know, that's where I got Boston Cashew's name from, is Austin Matthews. I was a play on his name, so I'm a big Matthews fan from Phoenix area. They have some great talent up front and in the forward group. Decent defensemen. It's probably their hole if they have one. But yeah, Finland, USA.
Okay. How excited are you to see some of the NHL's top young stars in this?
You can't get a guy who's more excited to see young hockey talent because that's the future of the game, right? But the Hughes brothers, great to see. They'll be representing. Who else we got? Talked about Motenbo. Look, I'm not a Canadian guy. I don't follow a whole lot of Montreal Canadiens hockey, but I have seen him as a former goaltender. I can tell you, I'm always excited to see young goaltending get out there and start to play. Ton of excitement. I'm sad to see some of the injuries like Heiskanen from Dallas in Finland. He won't be able to play. It looks like he'll be down and out. Quinn Hughes right now is a question mark. Vancouver came out and said today, 48 hours. What's that?
Crosby's got an upper body injury right now, too.
Yeah, it kind of feels like some of these players are getting closer to this Four Nations and realize that their NHL seasons are just as important. So, like Quinn Hughes right now is a 48-hour hold. They're looking at him and evaluating. He may not be able to play. That's a huge hole on defense for the United States. Obviously, he's 1-2 with Cale Makar. I mean, you get to see Cale Makar. The Canadian team has Cale and Devon Taves, who I hope they pair together so you guys can all get to witness what I do on a nightly basis with the Avalanche. Shut down defenseman and then a scoring defenseman. Hard to beat that. So ton of young talent. I'm excited to watch it.
And so, where was that last one I had here? Last one is, so with the Four Nation face-off serving as a potential preview for the 2026 Olympics, like, how you feel about it? Like,
well, they
the
just
team
announced
rosters and stuff like that.
What was the last part you said? Sorry.
Like the team rosters, like how do you feel about like the rosters, like as these could be potential rosters for next year's Olympics?
First of all, I'm excited. The disappointment that I have is they announced that the Russian and Belarusian teams won't play in the Olympics. I think they announced it today, actually. So, again, you go from Four Nations, you're going to expand it, but you won't include one of the biggest nations that play hockey. But the rosters, if these guys are allowed to play, which they weren't, I know a lot of fans, new people don't know this. NHL players weren't allowed to play in the Olympics for, I don't know, a decade. The NHL just wouldn't allow it. It's a big deal. You got a game right now that is continuously growing. You see that with the salary cap going up over the next 2 years by $10 million a year. So this is a game that's growing, and the more that it grows, the more these star players will get paid, the more you see big trades. The Olympics is going to be a big deal in impacting that. I think they need cooler jerseys. I like the Canadian jersey every single time they announce a Canadian jersey. I love it. The United States is always just some plain blue thing that says USA. I'm a USA guy through and through. Throw a flag on there or something. But I'm excited to see what it does. It's only going to grow the game that I love, that I've coached, played. And so all I can say is I'm excited.
So it's kind of crazy. and they say this pretty much every sport besides baseball, I guess. But like for the NBA, they've been talking about viewership down. I thought that the NHL's viewership must be up because I'm just seeing so many more people talk about it. But then when I was looking at the numbers, NHL seemed to be down too. And I'm like, I don't even see how that's possible. It doesn't, I don't know. Maybe once the NFL is officially done, we'll see the numbers start to bump back up. But like, I don't know, man. For me, hockey's just been like I was just looking at my phone and I was like, okay, the Canadians and the Kings play in 25 minutes. I think I could probably catch that game tonight, Yeah. And
what I'll say about viewership is it might be down in the regular season, but catch them. There's nothing more exciting. I don't care what playoffs, with the exception of maybe the Super Bowl. NHL Stanley Cup playoffs are some of the most exciting things you will ever watch. Competitive. Every game is, a single bad bounce away from being a difference. And the ratings were up over the last few years. I think they were down. I think the Stanley Cup final was down when Vegas went, and it trickled kind of down a little bit this last year. You've got to get the opponents that people want to see. And, once you get to the end, it is what it is. But look at the ratings. You'll see that those go up in the playoff time. Football's done. Baseball's barely getting started. There's a lot of things going on. NBA playoffs, not that exciting when it comes to this sort of stuff.
Because you know what? I'm not even going to hate on the NBA. I still love it, but it's just there's too much of an emphasis on scoring and not enough on defense. And so you see these blowout games where it's like, some of these series just don't like. The Mavs were so good all season, and they literally just couldn't do anything against Boston because Boston came out and played complete basketball, And so, like, it's good to see teams shuffling it around a little bit with that. But just keeping you with hockey, here's my question for you. And I'll obviously extend this to both of you guys. What are your predictions for the Western Conference Final and the Eastern Conference Final this year?
Well, I'll go first real quick. Look, right now, I'm gonna have to say, geez, who's gonna come out of the West? I got Dallas going. There's some underlying stats and metrics. I won't bore everybody with any of that, but the Stars right now haven't played as many games as everybody else. They're still trailing Winnipeg as far as 1-2. I have Dallas, as long as Ottinger stays healthy and can make it in there. Heiskanen comes back. He's month to month right now. You got to get your defenseman back. It's not a high-scoring team, but they play a defense that is suffocating. It's very difficult to play against. They're hard to score on. If you can get a lead on them, good luck. If you can get a lead, you can beat them, but you have to get the lead first. So I do have Dallas going there. My pick preseason for the East was the Rangers. Unfortunately, the Rangers have sort of fallen off quite a bit. They have picked up over the last month, so I won't count them out from making a playoff spot. I still like the Florida Panthers. They have not played nearly as well as they have in recent years, in like Stanley Cup year last year or the Stanley Cup where they lost the year before. But that's a team I feel like knows how to win now. They've got some gritty guys.
With Florida, you think that's because Spencer Knight's taking over? You think that's
Knight's a young guy. I still think Bobrovsky's going to end up being your guy unless he's done for. But Knight was picked up and drafted very high for a reason. I think he was a top 10, top 5 draft pick. You don't do that with goaltenders. Like I think he was or at least was the first goaltender drafted in that year. You don't draft goaltending that high unless you're very high on them. For instance, a Marc-Andre Fleury, who was a very high draft pick, he's obviously going to be a Hall of Famer. I think Florida turns it back on when it matters the most. Dallas and Florida is my pick right now.
So I have on my East, I got Washington.
I do like Washington a lot.
They are just way too hot right now.
They play a suffocating game, much similar to Dallas. Yeah, it's a good team.
But I have my love for Florida, and Vince knows. So I'd say Florida and Washington is probably going to be your East Final, more than likely.
That.
And my interesting part of the West, I have the Kings going, just because I want to see Vince's face when I say the Kings, because he loves the Kings. I
like the Kings too.
I have Kings and Stars.
Okay. Kings.
And my reality would probably be, I have to say, would be Stars and probably Panthers.
I like those picks. The only thing I'll say about the Kings is they'll have to get through Edmonton to get there. Yeah. And they haven't done so, I think, 3 years in a row now.
Yeah. But if they avoid Edmonton now, then definitely there's going to be a potential for the Kings.
Yeah, I like the Kings. They play a good game. We'll see. Trade deadline might determine that. They need a goal scorer. They need like a game changer.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with like my obvious. I think that the Golden Knights are gonna do what they got to do.
3-11 in their last 14. I knew you were gonna say the Knights.
Well, so January was a terrible month for them, and so to be perfectly honest, to start off February, I was going to place a bet the other night, and I'm like, I'm gonna do a little parlay. 1, 2, and then the third game, I was like, I'm gonna take the Rangers because they're going to win this game, because I don't think that Golden Knights have gotten it back together yet. I'm hoping to see them come out of this slump strong, though, through this month. So we'll see how it goes. If they get back on track this month, they're as tough as anybody. But I think that good money for, if you're not rooting for the team you want to go there, is Dallas. And exactly for the reason that you guys have both said. I mean, it's just, I'm just a different animal. And playoff Ottinger is like less than 2 goals, against, a game. So he's pretty serious. Vegas Hockey Freak said, we always slump in January. But yeah, you're right. We do need to get the shit together. So we'll see what happens there. And then coming out of the East, listen, I feel like right now it really is the Panthers to lose. They're not playing perfect, but they're a hard team to bet against right now. So and I do think like Bobrovsky's, he's been a little hit or miss this season. If he can dial in, then I don't think anyone in the East can stop them. So I can agree with that.
Playoff Bob, he turns it up a little bit more in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, when you have, the famous save, the Bobbery, like I was showing somebody that video and they were like, did he have his back turned? I was like, yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. Like, and that, you're an Avs guy, like Waz, my favorite goalie ever. He's just got that kind of aura to him, like when you see that guy in the playoffs, he's just, when that's who you got to get by, it's like, man, this is going to be a long night. So,
I mean, we don't got, as being, a Panthers fan, I don't got to worry about the Rangers this year.
Don't give up hope on the Rangers just yet. They're playing good hockey right now.
Yeah, they are.
I've been shocked. Like, I feel like Shesterkin's had a pretty tough time. I mean, they are getting it back together. The last 5-10 games, they've looked a lot better. But they fell off a cliff, I was like, whoa, they might not make the playoffs at this rate. So
it got pretty dicey.
Boston, you might know this too, because I was telling Vince about this one. We know who's in the playoffs as of November, December, and the Rangers weren't in the playoff potential. So that's why I don't see them in there, because they were not there.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty typical or standard. We know pretty quickly once we turn over the year who's going to be there. Yeah. The only thing I'll say is the East right now is pretty jumbled up. I mean, everybody's sort of in that 50 to 60 point range, all within a game or two of each other. One hot streak could determine it.
Everything last year, like everything got that 16 win streak, right?
Exactly. And I think you have some surprises this year. Ottawa is in the mix. They haven't been there for a while. They're looking really good. They look to be
They can
buyers at the
score.
trade deadline.
Ottawa can put points up pretty quickly.
That's a team that can score goals.
And this is another one. The Blue Jackets have turned it around. Like they were terrible to start out, and all of a sudden they just started banging out wins. They've looked really good recently too.
They have looked really good, but unfortunately for the Blue Jackets, I think injuries are going to succumb their season earlier than they maybe want to. They have, I think, 2 or 3 guys on IR right now, plus 2 or 3 others week to week. They're hammered with injuries. But I do like their scrappiness. They play a good game. They're playing right now with their hearts on their sleeve, with having lost Gaudreau earlier in the season. They're scrappy. I don't think they make it, but
look at every team that's got tragedies. They end up going deep in playoffs.
They played way better than I think anybody anticipated them playing this year. So good news story there. I think it kind of dies before the playoffs, though.
Okay. All right. So it's about that time of the evening. I got the Super Bowl background. We haven't talked any football yet. But you know what? Like that's, everyone's talking football every day for half the year. I'm okay with that, but it is that time, So we did get through, the NFC Championship, the AFC Championship, and now we're at that kind of key place where we've got the Chiefs. The Chiefs looking at three-peat, and then we've got playoff. I call him Playoff Pat, Keegan. I call him Playoff Pat, and then we've got the Eagles, who are like one of the best put together teams that we've seen in recent memory. Their defense is stellar, and they've probably got the best O-line in football to match with, an amazing running back. The team's got pretty much everything. Can you, Boston, can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you guys. I am heading out to grab a child from jiu-jitsu.
Okay. So, that's great. What belt?
He just started. He's the one that he left hockey this year, stopped playing after many years of being coached by me, and he decided he wanted to be a fighter.
That's awesome, though. Listen, and I won't bore you guys with it, but I used to do jiu-jitsu. I was decent. I wasn't like trying to compete or anything like that. I really more did it just for myself. It's a fantastic thing, and it puts a different kind of discipline in you when you get good with that. So, stay on him. He can do his thing. All right. So, right off the bat, I think first question for everybody is like, what's your prediction? Who wins? We going to see a three-peat, or are the Eagles going to dethrone the Chiefs and give Saquon a great birthday present? What do you think? Boston, let's start with you since you're about to be driving.
Well, I'm already driving. I have you guys hooked up to my car. Okay. So I might have missed a part of your question. What was it, Vin?
Who do you got, Chiefs or Eagles in the Super Bowl?
Oh, easy. I got the Eagles winning this one. I think Saquon takes home Super Bowl MVP. And I think they win by 10.
Okay. And he got Saquon. So just to preface, my thought process is Mahomes MVP and Chiefs win, or Eagles win and Saquon's MVP. So I like your thought with the MVP there. I understand that. Now, I know you're a Broncos fan, so obviously you've got some bias, right? You're not gonna go for the Chiefs, and that's fair. I'm a Giants fan, and so obviously I am not gonna go for the Eagles. I think Playoff Pat shows up. So I was giving out a stat today on X. I thought that was pretty interesting, and in my buddy Hot Take Space, since October 30th, right? Everyone was talking about how bad Pat was playing this year. Okay. First half of the year, he was pretty slow, a lot of interceptions, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Since October 30th, he has had 20 touchdowns with 2 interceptions and 2 rushing touchdowns. So he's absolutely he's lights out right now. He's flawless in the playoffs. And I can't bet against the Chiefs. I don't know. I can't do it. But what do you think, Cove?
I got a good one for you with the way I'll finish this one out. So I got Chiefs on a 7-point win, like a touchdown. And Kelsey to get an MVP with his 2 rings he gets the same night.
No, you think dude, okay, listen. I'm not a for or against Taylor Swift. I don't listen to her music, but
you see the prop bet? There's a prop bet on it. If he's
plus 1,000, right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, listen, I am a family guy, and if they finished the Super Bowl that way, it would warm my heart. I would like it.
That's what I said. Kelsey wins with 2 rings.
I would absolutely be pleased with him getting engaged on the field to Taylor Swift. I think that would be pretty cool. Yeah. Somebody just said you got to get traded to my man Peyton's show for that one. I love it. Now, okay, so I'm going to assume, Boston, you think that Saquon is the key to the game for the Eagles?
Yeah, I think he's the difference maker for not just the scoring ability. I think for possession for the Eagles. I think obviously the least amount of times you can have Mahomes have the football, the better your chances are.
Saquon's got that ball, the less time Pat's got to throw it.
So this is what I was saying to Cove last week is that they need, Saquon has to have a 100+ yard game for them to win. They need him just chewing up yards. They got to use that amazing offensive line. And it's definitely possible for them to win. For me, if the Eagles are to win, I think the difference maker in the game is actually a defensive player. I think Jalen Carter makes a big problem for Pat Mahomes. And I think that it goes both ways. I think it's going to be Chris Jones or Jalen Carter making a huge problem in that backfield for one team or the other that's going to really affect and possibly change this game. So, I'm going with the big boys in defense. Cove, what do you think? Who's the guy that you think is, going to impact this game the most?
I'll give you an interesting. I don't know a lot of the players, but if Pat throws out a pick or two, to a the cornerback or whatever, then that's going to change the game.
And you know how that happens? When big bad Jalen Carter gets after him in that backfield and makes him lose his cool.
Yeah,
exactly what they need.
I'm saying a nice pick, a pick 6. I'm saying there's going to be at least 1 pick 6 in this game.
Ooh, okay.
Bro, if there's a pick 6, it better be Trent McDuffie. He's supposed to be they kept him and they got rid of L'Jarius Sneed, which was ridiculous because Sneed was incredible in their playoff run. But I don't know. So our guy Keegan here says that he thinks the game's going to go to OT. I don't. I think that whoever wins this game wins it by more than 1 score. Okay, so 10 points in either direction. It could be the Eagles, it could be the Chiefs. It's really hard to tell. These are the right teams. No offense to Lions fans and to the Lions, but I feel like the right 2 teams are there. The Eagles really are the best team in the NFC. They have 2 wide receiver ones, in Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. They have Saquon Barkley, who is now in a class of only 9 running backs in NFL history. They have one of the greatest offensive lines ever. Now, Jalen Hurts may not be he's not like your Joe Burrow, your Josh Allen, Lamar, but the guy is just a winner, okay? You know what I mean? And, the guy played for Oklahoma and Alabama in college. the guy just wins. Since he's been in the league, that team has done nothing but win. This is his second Super Bowl appearance. So, this is a tough one. I'm going to bet on the Chiefs, and I'm going to bet on Pat Mahomes because, to me, it just makes the most sense. And I would like to see history. A three-peat in the Super Bowl era would be just like, I think that would be good for the sport. I think it would be a cool moment. So
I'll say Mitchell. I'll make a bold prediction. Mitchell makes the pick 6 on the Eagles.
Okay. I think with any football game, especially one this close and of this caliber, turnovers are everything. So if you're right, Cove, I'm all for it.
Listen, I don't know what his career stats are, but I know in this playoff so far, Pat Mahomes has 0 turnovers. Yeah. But I don't know, man. I'll be honest.
But the Philly defense is different. He has not met Philly defense.
That's the thing. I fully believe that Philly's defense is nasty. But I'll leave you guys with this. I know you're driving. It's like almost midnight where Cove is. Cove is actually past Eastern time. Think about that for a second, Boston. He's an hour past Eastern time. That's how far into the Atlantic Ocean he is. But,
not that far.
But right, so for me, Cooper DeJean kick return touchdown, that would be sick. That would be a sick play, Keegan. But I don't know. I'm 41 years old. I've seen quite. I got to watch Joe Montana and John Elway. I got to watch Breeze, Peyton, Tom Brady. The best football player I've ever seen play football is Pat Mahomes. I'm just I don't like Brady's the biggest winner in any sport ever. Yeah, we can all agree to that. He was on a different level, but he wasn't necessarily like when he was playing quarterback as an actual quarterback. A lot of people would say Peyton Manning was a better quarterback than him. But I just think that everything combined, from decision making to the legs on him, to the way he can throw the ball, I think Pat Mahomes is the best football player on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Look, call me a hater. 9 times out of 10, you're probably right. But I agree with you here. Pat Mahomes is the best player on the planet right now, easily.
Yeah, he's listen, man, to think that he was drafted 10th or something like that, something that when you look back in retrospect, you're like, he wasn't even a number 1 draft pick, But for me, this is going to be a lot of people are talking about they're not going to watch this game, and I'm excited for this game. This is one of the best matchups, and it's a rematch from just 2 years ago. So I'm pretty stoked about it. Obviously, I will be heavily rooting against the Eagles. I don't care if Saquon's on the team. I don't care who's going to, I'm against the Eagles. It's the team I dislike the most in sports. The best part is, the lady is also an AFC West fan. She's a Raiders fan, so she'll be heavily rooting against the Chiefs. So it'll be fun. But listen, guys, that's all I got for this week. Vinny's Corner. If I was going to make an NFL bet this week, I would take, I don't even know what the numbers look like yet, but I would look to see what the over was for receiving yards on Travis Kelce. I would look for Pat Mahomes to have a rushing touchdown, and I would take the Chiefs. And I would probably parlay those, just throwing it out there. And I also think that Saquon Barkley is going to be under on his rushing yards. That's all I got for you guys this week. We'll see. My guy Vegas Hockey Freak says Barkley gets the MVP. And he's talking about for the league, not for the Super Bowl. That would be awesome. It would be. But I don't know. I mean, to me, he's been the most valuable player. But here's the thing, right? And we saw this, and I'll leave you on this one, actually. The backup running back came into the Commanders game, and Saquon sat down. The moment the backup came in, because of how good that offensive line is, he immediately broke a 59-yard run. So Saquon is great, but like, I don't know. Like, I think a lot of running backs could be great behind that line.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm just being a New York hater, but, you know, happy birthday to Saquon when he does hit it. And, you know, congrats if he does win it. But like I said, I'm taking the Chiefs. And guys, that's all I got for you this week on Vinny's Corner. Cove, you got anything else, brother?
No.
All right, guys, enjoy the Super Bowl, and we will be back this time next week to talk some mess. Have a good night.